Good afternoon. Welcome to the Reimagine City Park public meeting. We're going to start at 12:05, give some folks a few extra minutes to get logged on. Thank you. Good afternoon. If you've just joined us, we're going to start at 12:05 to give some folks time to log on. Thanks. Good afternoon. We'll start in just 1 minute. All right, it's 12:05. We've given folks a few minutes to get logged on and get situated. I'd like to welcome everyone on this Teams call to the public meeting for Reimagine City Park. This is a planning project that the City of Portsmouth has underway, and we are coming to the public today to give you an update of where we are in the process and really ask for your input for us to help determine the future of City Park. So a couple housekeeping things. If you're on this call, you know that well, I guess you got to it through the website. There was not a registration to be able to access the call. If you would like to continue to be up to date on the Reimagine City Park planning process, please go back to the website, and at the bottom of the website, there's a contact us. Please put your name, email, and information about yourself, and just shoot us a quick note that says, keep me in the loop, and we will continue to provide updates to you as we reach back out to the city and make sure that you're aware of future meetings such as this. So let's begin. While we are going through this presentation, this is a Teams call, and so there won't be a open mic at the end of this. Instead, with a virtual setting, because of the pandemic, we have a question button that you can use. If you're using a desktop, at the bottom right corner, you can click that, type your question, and hit submit. If you're using a mobile interface, it's in the upper right-hand corner. There's a couple question bubbles. You can click those and type in your question. We will try to answer the questions along the way, but it's more likely that we will answer questions or comments at the end of the presentation. Please, no offensive language. If there is language in the comment or question, we will not be asking that or presenting that in this presentation. So today we have a planning team here. We have Mark Palmalchik, David Dahlman with Kimley Horn, James Wright with Director of Engineering, Nick Kuhn, Kimley Horn, Jamie Wiest with Kimley Horn, and Delcino Miles with the Miles Agency. All the folks I mentioned are on the call today and can answer questions at the end, but will have a part in the presentation. So I'd like to start off talking just about the park in general and what the City of Portsmouth has today. And so the city park itself is a one-of-a-kind park. It has a very unique setting that it sets in amongst residential neighborhoods. It has water on 3 sides, and so the waterfront is a very unique feature to the park, and we want to emphasize that as we continue the planning process. I want to walk quickly through some of the amenities the park already has, and I hope that you will keep those in mind as comments and input you provide for this planning process. You'll remember what the park already has today. With that, I think I just want to make one comment that this planning process is intended to build upon the park's existing amenities. There may be amenities that are underutilized, that may go away in the planning process, but it's much more likely that there are many more amenities that the public deems as important that will be part of the future plan. So coming into the park, on the right side, there are community gardens. Throughout the park, there are picnic shelters and an amphitheater. There's a fishing pier, tennis courts, a 9-hole golf course with driving range and clubhouse. There's a skate park, playground equipment, large and small boat launches, walking paths, pokey smoky, and other infrastructure such as parking lots that support the amenities that are within the park. So knowing the existing conditions of the park, City Council decided that it was best to think about the future of the park. And so that's how this process became underway. This is a City Council initiative for the planning process. And I'll turn it over to Mark to talk about what the city's goals are for this planning process.
Thank you, David. So the city has some pretty straightforward goals for the planning process. First one is consistency in decision making. Regardless of any personnel changes through the years, it's going to be a reference tool that will help guide future decisions. It's also going to help us make informed decisions and create priorities based on public needs and interests. It's going to allow us to gather information from multiple sources. So, of course, the more public input we get, the better the plan will be. It's going to also help us establish a long-range vision for the greatest community benefit. It will help develop a clear plan of action and help to also reduce gaps in any services and amenities. So I want to encourage you all to think long-term, not just short-term. What do we need now? Also, what do we need in 5 years, 10, 20 years? Thinking about amenities, of course, but also other important factors like climate change and resiliency. And then finally, I just want to say, let your voice be heard. This park is for you, the citizens of Portsmouth. So the more input we get, the more you'll help us make it the best that we can for the city of Portsmouth. I'll throw it back over to you, David.
Thanks, Mark. Like I said, we are in the middle of a planning process. So we're planning for the future. And I'm going to ask Nick to talk a little bit about our planning process, where we are in the process, and how the process goes to completion.
Yes, thanks, David. As Mark noted, there's several goals that the city has for this process, and so we wanted to make sure that the outcomes here provided the needed information and the opportunities for everybody to provide input. So we've identified 4 simple steps for the planning process, and we began this in fall of 2020 with a project kickoff, and we also completed a park evaluation. So we actually went out walking the park, assessing the conditions of the existing amenities within the park, but we also collected a lot of information, a lot of data about the park, and allows for further evaluation of opportunities and constraints for the park itself. We also launched this fall step 2, and that was really our initial public engagement step. And this began first with stakeholder interviews, and this included elected officials from the city. And then it's also inclusive of today's effort with the public workshop. This is our first public workshop in this process. These steps 1 and 2 are both ongoing currently and will remain so for the next month. And it's really the combination of steps 1 and 2 that provides us a solid base of information and input that allows us to then develop concepts. And that's part of where we move into step 3. We'll look at the data that we collected and the input gathered, and we'll develop a series of concepts highlighting improvements that fit within the resources available, both within the site and in terms of budget and operations and maintenance for the city. We'll put these concepts together into a package and present this to the public later this spring. We'll gather additional input and refine those concepts into a recommended plan. And that allows us to move forward into step 4, the final step. Within step 4, we'll focus on implementation planning. And this includes identifying potential phasing and also identifying costs associated with each and making recommendations in regards to how the project will ultimately move forward. And this will be gathered into a final master plan document that will be reviewed through city staff, as well as posting it online on the project's website, and also presented to City Council. Now let's talk a little bit about public input process.
Sorry, a little technical difficulty there. Why are we here today is really to get your input, the public's input. As you can see, we don't have pretty pictures of what we want it to be yet or what the plan looks like. That happens in the next steps. But to get there, again, we need your input. And so there are a few different ways to provide your input on what you want the park to be. And one is through the website. After this slide, we'll show you a quick demonstration of how that platform works. but I do want to turn it over to Delcino, who can talk about how we've reached out to the community, who we've reached out to, and other ways of providing your input if technology and the website isn't the best way for you.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone. We have posted, we had an ad in the Bridges supplement of the Virginian Pilot on Sunday announcing this particular meeting. We sent out an email notice to Civic League leaders as well as businesses, and the city, also the marketing manager for the city of Portsmouth, also placed it on the city's various communications platforms, as well as his website. We reached out to faith-based communities, businesses, and other media platforms. So we have a pretty robust outreach effort. And if there's anyone on this call and would like to, as David mentioned earlier, who would like to make sure that you get this directly, just put that in either in the chat or post it to the website. But we just want to make sure that everyone has opportunity to weigh in. And so certainly this particular presentation will be posted for those who weren't able to make it today. And for those who may not have access to technology, we will have hard copies starting next week available at the locations that are listed on the website. So you can they can pick those up, fill those out there, and leave them at that location starting on the 8th. And the public input period, as you see here, will be through March 1st. Thank you, David. David, I don't think we have audio.
Okay, sorry about the technical. Let me try to share and reshare my screen and get that working for you. Okay, let's try this one more time. I'm going to go back up a slide.
Welcome to the Reimagine City Park website. To add your comments and ideas for the park, click on the interactive map button at the top of the page. You can share your thoughts and feedback with the planning team. If you'd like to log in and receive project notifications, enter your email address and then click on Continue to Map. If you prefer to leave comments without entering your email address, just click on Continue as Guest. The park site is shown here in green. You can see what comments have already been left by hovering over the icons. You can click on an icon to agree or disagree or post a reply. You can take a closer look at the map by zooming in. To move around the map, you can click, hold, and move your mouse. Toggle between map and satellite views using these buttons. To share your opinions, click on Add a Pin at the top of the page. You can add positive park element pins to let the team know if there are things you do not want to see changed. These pins are blue. You can also add negative park elements pins to let the team know if there are things or places you think needs work and should be changed. These pins are purple. Lastly, you can add an improvement or amenity idea pin if you've got some great ideas you want to share with the team. These pins are orange. When you drop a pin, you have the option to provide additional comments. Be sure to click Submit to add your ideas and concerns to the database. That's it. We appreciate your time and feedback.
So that video is also on the website, and if you're sharing the website with others and they're asking how do they provide their input, that video is on there and is pretty descriptive on the process to be able to share your ideas. So with next steps, where do we go from here? So again, I can't stress your input is critical to our next steps, and it's critical to the future plan for City Park. We at the end of at the end of February, the March 1st, when the deadline is for the first initial public input, we will take that input and digest it, boil it down, and understand what your main thoughts are. We'll take that and incorporate it into the initial plan. Those initial plans and concepts will include schematics and visual representations of what we heard from you, the citizens. We'll take that to the city, to city staff, present that to city staff, and when they've greenlighted it, we will post that to the website and disseminate it through the city, through our contacts, some of the folks that Delcino mentioned earlier with our public outreach, and get that information out to you all. We will then hold a second public meeting to get your feedback on what we've prepared, and then take that feedback and then further refine the process. So with that, we thank you for your time today. We will jump over into some questions. Again, please revisit Reimagine City Park frequently through the springtime. There will be action and things going on that you won't want to miss. So with that, I turn it over to Jamie to ask some questions.
Thanks, David. We did get several questions posted here on the event site. And also, I just want to remind everyone, we've already received over 100 comments on the website about the city park and about planning ideas. So that continues to be a great resource. So if you have questions that you want to ask, you can always go back to the website and post a question or post a comment. Here's a question for you, David, or the committee. What is the anticipated budget improvements for the city park?
Thanks, Jamie. I think I'll let Mark answer that.
Thank you, David, and thank you for the question. It's a great question, and the honest answer is right now, we don't know what the budget is going to be because we don't know what changes are going to be in place. Whatever it's going to be in the future will most likely be a phased approach, and there will be, funding from our capital improvement plan funds as well as grant funds that we can go after.
Great, thank you. One question came up, or one comment came up at near the end of the presentation about the roles that each of us or each of you all would play in the planning process. David, when you did introductions earlier, they asked, what role are each of these people on this call and on this planning team playing in the development of the park process?
Okay, yeah, thanks. So Kimley Horn is the planner that will be doing the majority of the planning. So Nick, myself, and Jamie are taking the information and we are preparing the plan. Delcino on the call, she is helping with the public outreach component of it. So she is help with this presentation. She'll also be helping you get the information out to the public as we continue the process. Mark and James are both obviously with the city, and they are the ones on the city side managing this process and making sure that we are planning something that is best for City Park. We do have a couple other consultants that aren't on this call, some that are studying the waterfront, how to make the waterfront resilient, shoreline stabilization, sea level rise. They're looking at those elements of the planning process. And then we have some others that are looking at specific amenities and how those best fit into the park.
Very good, thank you. Here's another question for you, David. How long will it actually take for the improvements to be implemented out at the park? When can we start using it?
That's a great question. I'll answer just from the planning side of things, and then I'll let Mark answer more from the city side of things. So from a planning perspective, this planning process will go into the summer and later into the summer before a plan is finalized. And then once it's finalized, that gives the city the tools to be able to plan for the future. And so with that, then it goes into the city process, and I'll let Mark talk a little bit about how he's planning to use the plan and implement it in the future.
Thank you, David. Yes, so the park is currently open, and as I mentioned before, we plan to do this in a phased approach, never completely closing the park down. So we anticipate always having amenities open depending on what improvements we're making at that time. We always want to have people out there to be able to enjoy the outdoors, so I don't think it will ever be completely shut down.
Okay. Here's a question that's sort of related to that, to continue on, Mark and David. Is this project anticipated to be a one-time or a one-shot improvement, or is this something that will be more open-ended and evolving over time? In other words, once the plan is complete, will it continue to change, or will it be something that will be used to build out from there?
Thanks. I'll answer this, and I'll let Mark answer it also. But the planning process gives a vision for the future of the park. What we develop may not be ultimately what in 25 years the park is. There may be other factors that become more important later on down the road, but without a vision moving forward, it's hard to make progress. So this is intended to give let's call it a roadmap for how the park will continue to improve over the years, and that's how the city will use it as a roadmap. Mark, do you have any additional comments?
I think you hit the nail right on the head.
Another question just came in, gentlemen. Are you including the Elizabeth River project in the group looking at the shoreline resiliency portion of this project?
Thanks, Jamie. So unfortunately, we don't have our waterfront specialist on this call. If you provide your email, we can get back to you on that specific question. I know that the consultant does a lot of waterfront work in the area and is very familiar with all of what the Elizabeth River Park project is doing. And it will have a lot of these same elements that that project has: living shorelines, other ways of being more resilient on the waterfront aspect of things. So I know it'll include those same things. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to fold them in together yet.
David, if I could piggyback on that, just Elizabeth River Project is already a very good partner of ours, helping us out at Paradise Creek Nature Park. So I'm sure we'll be looping everyone in out there to help just give any ideas that they have as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question just came in. How would a community organization get more involved to offer resources and build assistance in this project?
Mark, I'll let you field that one.
Sure. I mean, and the biggest thing is go to the website and put your ideas in. That is the main thing that we need, is public input from as many sources as we can get. So that is what I would encourage you to do, is get your organization together to make sure that their ideas are heard, because again, this is for all of Portsmouth.
Yeah, and that I will just add on to that. If I understand the question correctly, it's asking how can we get more involved, and if that is including that you're wanting to do physical things that whether community gardens or things like that, put those ideas in there also. That is an idea that we want to hear about. I have a community organization that wants to do this create this program in the park on Sundays. That's the kind of ideas we want to hear.
Okay, here's another one. This is more of a question about a clarification of terminology. What does waterfront resiliency mean?
Thanks, Jamie. So waterfront resiliency, how I view waterfront resiliency is you're looking at the future, and if a big storm does come through, that it doesn't wipe away your park or destroy part of the park. You're looking at how you can be environmentally sustainable, from a stormwater standpoint. You're looking at stabilization. If there are waves during a big hurricane event, that shoreline can withstand those. So you soften the slopes. You look at how that interacts with sea level rise and then bigger events. So that's the resiliency that you're trying to do is big storms and sea level rise. You're trying to combat both of those.
Okay, here's another one for you. Understanding that this project is being driven as a city council priority and initiative, who in the city Portsmouth government is managing the project and will be handling all the reports and final documents?
So Mark, I'll let you answer that one from the city standpoint.
Sure. So as far as managing and receiving reports and being the liaisons for Kimberly Horn, that would be myself as Director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, and also our Director of Engineering, James Bright. Now, as far as who will ultimately be making final decisions, that of course will go back to City Council for them to determine, anything that they like, they don't like, and we'll move forward with their guidance.
Great, thank you. And then there's one final question here about how a copy of this presentation can be obtained. Will it be posted on the website? Can it be posted on the city's YouTube channel? Can people get a copy of this presentation afterwards?
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Delcino, I'll let you answer that one.
Yes, all the information on this will be posted on the website. And also I'll work with the marketing and communications team with the city for water distribution. I know the specific question was the YouTube channel, and we will certainly follow up with the communications team with the city.
Okay, well, that's all the questions that I have in the docket for now, you all. If you have any more questions or any other input you'd like to make, please go to the website, give us a call on the number that was provided, email one of the staff representatives. But there's several different ways that you can provide input, and I think it was made pretty clear that we want and desire your input because this park is for the citizens of Portsmouth. David?
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks for everyone that joined the call today. We appreciate your questions, and we again really look forward to having the input from you all. This is an exciting project for City of Portsmouth and for us. We've really enjoyed working with staff and look forward to working with the public also on this project. So again, thank you everyone for your time. This will be posted online, and have a great rest of your day.